So like speaking of mindset, because I always kind of look at COVID and what happened with that year and thinking I had set all these goals and I really had to pivot and say, okay, this year I'm just going to be a little bit more forgiving because things are a little bit different, right? I have this new landscape that I have to traverse through and nobody knows really what's going on. And, like adapting to technology and Zoom and how we network nowadays. And so how do you, and especially the way that we started out this year, just this week, how do you keep that mindset going? I think that's what I struggle the most is that, some days I'm super motivated and then some days I just feel like, like what's the point of goals?
Yeah. So that's oftentimes you have a question, where do people go wrong with setting themselves up for success? And that is where is we think that motivation, we rely on motivation. We're committed to motivation. We're thinking, oh gosh, I'm just going to lose all this weight. And we're thinking we're going to be motivated to do that. Right. But motivation is like a feeling. It dies, right? Just like any other feeling, you have to keep motivation going. So you have to be committed. So be committed to the goal. So be committed to the vision and try to be disciplined and focus on the commitment. So whether you feel like it today or not, like I might not feel like it because my motivation might be somewhere else that day to do a workout, for example, since we're talking about some of that goal. I might not feel like it, but you have to be disciplined enough and committed enough to your goal that, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to find whether it's 5, 10, 15 minutes, I'm going to do it. So your goal should be a commitment and that's where, and then your mindset, right? When you're going back to the mindset, it's because we all want to be motivated and it's not going to be. And we all think that it's going to be a breeze, but we have to accept, like last year, that things like that happens, like COVID happens, like obstacles are going to happen. But if we don't stay committed to our goals and we don't look at that, if it's not inspirational enough for us, then we lose sight of it. We can say, oh, oops, whatever about that, 20 pounds, or sometimes we're too soft then on ourselves too. So I think it's just going back to, am I committed to this? And am I disciplined enough to just do the work day in and out for it? I'm not focused on the motivation. I'm not focused on the things that will come. I expect it. You have to accept and expect that life will happen. Mm-hmm. And so because you already accept that, when obstacles come, it doesn't hit you harder. Like, oh my gosh, I ate this big meal. Like the weekend's going to come. Like we know every weekend comes and we're going to have gatherings and things like that. So, you just have to plan for life. Life happens. And so if you don't focus enough on the commitment and you focus on your motivation or other things that is going to drive you, like that, you're going to lose sight of it.
Yeah.
I love that. Honestly, that's like very profound, like for you to even say that life happens and you just do it and everything else will come. Because I think sometimes like with my own personal goals, it's so dictated on how motivated I am that day, and I think here in the Pacific Northwest, the weather is very hard.
It's not going to change. The weather is going to be
right.
It's gloomy. It's cloudy outside.
It plays a huge part. The weather plays a huge part in how we feel day in and day out. It changes quite often. And it's not like it changes from like good to bad. It's like from like cloudy to pouring down rain. And then it snows and it's beautiful. And then all of a sudden there's rain again. And then there's black ice. It's all over the place.
So I just love that. Yeah, like that's completely, because I have been thinking about that a lot of just like these things I want to do, and some of these things are goals from last year that I've just kind of said I'm not even gonna really go after it. And so I love what you're saying of just recognizing that These aren't surprises.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing is knowing what your capacity is. Going back to what you said, Kali, is your capacity and resources.
Mhm.
Oftentimes we think we can do like 10 million things, you know, and we can't. We just can't. You're not really being realistic in terms of that. If it was the one goal, it's realistic, right? But you have to plan for, like I said, life, the other things that are into place, and it's really about sacrificing. If you really want this goal, you're going to have to sacrifice something. If you really want to lose weight, then maybe you sacrifice sleep because you're getting up at 5 a.m. and working out, because that's the only time you know in your day that would work, or in the evening or whatever. If it's that you know, that goal, you know, going to my business. If it's your business, you just get up and you just do it every day. You have to be so committed to your goals that despite how you're feeling that day, you're taking one action steps towards that event. And so, yeah,
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't really I think when you make anything, it's so funny because a lot of the strategies you're talking about, like, it's so familiar to me because it's part of my work, but I've never really utilized it in my own, like, from work to just personal, right? Like, I think identifying your risks and being flexible with your plan, right? That when we do make up a goal, like, it's important to think about some of the pain points that could possibly happen for us, and develop some sort of mitigation plan for those. And so it's just weird. I've never implemented that into my personal, which is crazy, because I do it for work day in and day out. But I've just never thought to say, let's just apply that to my own personal thing and kind of see how it goes. But you're right. I think when you're more aware and you plan for some of those hiccups, it doesn't hit you as hard. So I'm really glad that you brought that up and kind of put it in a perspective where people can apply those strategies to your personal goals. So then it softens the blow a little bit if you don't lose that 20 pounds, because you know that life happens and that's okay. You just got to refocus and, you know, shift your mindset a tiny bit more. So I love that.